This is the Hobonichi Cousin, and I'm going to set up one of the daily pages using my clear stamps. I have the bold dates and days stamps, and I'm inking up the stamp with an ink from Catherine Pooler called Drive-In. The paper in these Hobonichi planners is really thin, so I can't stamp directly onto the paper right away without getting major bleed through to the other side. I intentionally chose a dark ink because I'm going to stamp first on a piece of scrap paper and then stamp the page. This will keep the ink from bleeding through to the other side. One really amazing thing about clear stamps is that you can visualize them on the page because there's nothing blocking your view, like you'd have with a rubber stamp. When stamping on the scrap paper first, it's important to make sure the entire image is stamped. If you miss a spot, that will create a darker spot in your planner, which will then bleed through to the other side. I designed this stamp set called Tiny Trackers and Icons to work perfectly with the grid in the Hobonichi planners, as well as any 5mm grid, like a bullet journal. The acrylic blocks I'm using have white grid lines on them that help me to line up the stamps perfectly straight. A lot of the black inks out there are very dark, so I'm going to use this dark gray called Blackjack for the word tasks. These bullets are perfectly spaced for the Cousin planner. It's important to use the acrylic block to pick up the stamp to avoid any stretching or curving of the stamp. And then I can just line it up with a grid and stamp it. Next, I'm going to grab the projects word and stamp that with the same gray ink. This color is Glitz, and it's a little bit lighter than the other colors I've been using. Because I'm creating highlighted lines, I don't want it to be too dark since I'll be writing on it, and I want to make sure that my pen is easy to read. It's important not to judge your inking right away after you stamped it. As it dries, it'll fill in the blank spots and it'll look better. Next, I'm going to do this water tracker real quick by the date. And then I'm grabbing this tracking chart. This is actually created for a 5mm grid, so it's not going to line up with the grid in this planner, but that's totally okay with me. I'm using Pixie Dust ink, which is also on the medium lighter side. I don't want it to be too dark that I can't see my dots on it. This has the hours of the day from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and it lines up perfectly to the grid lines. And this little stamp has a scale from 1 to 8 that also lines up with the grid. I'm going to grab this adorable little pain icon and stamp it above the grid. I also have this cute meal icon, so I'm going to grab that and some highlighted lines for the meals. This color is Limoncello, which is a darker yellow. And I'm going to do the icon as orange twist. And then I'm going to track a few more things. So I've got a little shoe for the steps tracker, and a little dumbbell for my workout, a book for a reading tracker, which I really end up not using, and a little moon and stars for sleep. I've decided to grab my handy dandy stencil to create some highlighted lines. As I'm lining up my icons, I really just don't like how the book looks, so I'm going to swap it out for an energy icon instead. I'm grabbing this other stencil that has highlighted lines for the daily schedule and using a yellow highlighter to go with the rest of the page. And then I love this handwritten today stamp, which is actually hand-drawn by yours truly, and stamp that at the top. And then I'm going to grab those bullets again and stamp those in the open space by tasks. That way I have more space for additional tasks. And then there's just one little open space that's bothering me, so I'll add some hearts for self-care items for that day. And I think it looks complete now. So we have our date and water tracker here, our hourly schedule, tasks, projects, self-care, tracking, and meals and pain tracking.